There are three things that impacted my life growing up in Iraq. One is war. I grew up in war, and I understood at a very young age that the world discussed war from a man's perspective, fighting, bullets, guns, all of that. But the world does not discuss war from a woman's perspective, which is keeping life going in the midst of war.
Okay, let's just start. Welcome to a new episode of the Bridging Podcast.
Tomorrow is going to happen whatever we do. Is it better to go into tomorrow trusting a voice, a practice, process, a way forward? Or is it better to go into tomorrow filled with fear and not believing the things that have gotten you here so far?
Create a new reality. I close my eyes and I will be there. I will dream it. Zainab Salbi, welcome to the Bridging Podcast. It's really, really nice having you here.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you very much, Özlem.
Yes, thank you. Zainab, I'm sure that many listeners know you already, but would you like to introduce yourself? Who is Zainab Salbi?
And somehow it's relevant and somehow it's not relevant, right? Because I think who we are ultimately have to be how comfortable we are with ourselves. Our external accomplishments, I feel, are part of us, but not fully us. But if you want my external accomplishments, or my external life, I am a woman from Iraq. Was born and raised in Baghdad, Iraq. I came to America when I was 20 years old, in a most unforeseen and unfortunate circumstances, where I was in a marriage in an arranged marriage that I ended up escaping after a few months. I then founded Women for Women International, an organization that supports women survivors of wars all over. And I then moved to the journalism world, where I launched prominent different shows in the Arab world as well as in America about seeing and understanding the world from a woman's perspective. And now I am the host of Redefined podcast and a chief awareness officer at Find Center, a new platform for spiritual health and personal growth and development. And I'm an author of many, many books, always from seeing the world from a woman's perspective. My latest book is Freedom is an Inside Job.
Freedom is an inside job. Wow. Thank you for this nice introduction. Thank you, Zainab. You said that you were born and raised in Iraq, in Baghdad. And on the age of 19, you went to the States. Before I go to the States part, when you moved to the States, can you tell us a little bit about how was it for you to live in a dictatorship? Because, it was at the time that Saddam Hussein was also alive. And actually, your father was the private pilot of Saddam Hussein.
Yeah, I grew up knowing Saddam. I called him uncle as I was growing up. He was my father's, my father worked for him indeed. And also we were his social friends, which is not something that you choose in that case. It's something that he chose, and the option was very limited for us. There are three things that impacted my life growing up in Iraq. One is war. I grew up in war, and I understood at a very young age that the world discussed war from a man's perspective, fighting, bullets, guns, all of that. But the world does not discuss war from a woman's perspective, which is keeping life going in the midst of war. And I was just a child when that happened. And it's like, oh, they only see the front line, they don't see the back line. So that impacted me. The second one is knowing Saddam Hussein. That was fear. And we were afraid of everything, not only my family, everyone was afraid of everything in Iraq. Any jokes, any comment about criticizing him was actually entailed danger. So that impacted me, because then I spent a lifetime trying to look for freedom.
Yeah.
And then the next one is my mother, who taught me that I have to always be strong, that I have to always be independent, that I should never let any man or any person touch me or talk to me in the wrong way. And then I should never learn how to cook or clean, because no man should expect that of me just because I'm a woman. And my mother's teachings, not about the cooking, cleaning, but was impactful on me and helped me stand on my feet and be strong and independent every time life gave me a hit, basically. So I'm grateful for these teachings. But these are the 3 points that impacted my life in my growing up.
Yeah, you said fear in the dictatorship. You also said like the difference between men during war and women during war. They actually keep being alive and make the life actually going. And you said like you're about your mom, that she really taught you freedom, being independent. She didn't teach you to cook and clean. She was really teaching you to look after yourself and be independent. It's actually very funny. My mom is Turkish. I was raised in the Netherlands, and my mom also did not teach me cleaning and cooking. She was like, hey, you have to be independent. And there was no war while she was teaching me this in the Netherlands. Very funny. But
much older age, I am not against cleaning and cooking. I had to learn how to clean and cook. And I was like, no man still should expect it from me, but I had to learn to clean and cook to truly have my independence, to truly know how to do that. So my mom did not teach me that, did not tell me that, don't clean and cook, but there were always women who cleaned and cook. And in our homes. And, we cannot just look at women's independence and strength as just, because that's a privilege, and a privilege of middle class, or more. And so I'm critical of that point of my mom, although it helped me. But then a long time I was like, yes, but she didn't tell me that there were women who sacrificed their freedom and their independence to cook and clean for me, right? And what is my freedom and my own independence for also me to learn how to go clean. So it's a complex thing, and I again, in my latest book, Freedom is an Inside Job, really, I learned freedom is none of the things that we say. It's really how do we acquire it within ourselves.
And how did you acquire it within yourself during your childhood years and teenage years, until 19 years old, while living in the dictatorships? Because you said fear. Like, how did you keep that freedom in you while you also felt fearful?
I mean, freedom came over time. I'm not sure. I had a lot of anxiety as a child. I had a lot of worries, so freedom comes over time. It's not like you keep yourself free, but you're working at a dictatorship. However, there are few things that helped me. One is I love music, so I always put myself in my talents, my music, my expression. Second, I never let myself, I did suppress myself, but I also articulated myself. I suppressed myself for certain things that would endanger my family, but I also was articulate about at least my personal desires and my personal beliefs. I kept that, and even times in which everyone was like, oh my God, he's going to be angry at you for saying this. But I kept it as long as there was a red line I knew not to cross, but I did not close my mind. I kept my mind, even though the society did not allow me, or the government did not allow me to keep my mind. My freedom was mine. I could read. I could express myself in my writings, but that was personal. And then the last but not least, I actually always had a connection with God, and I always, since my childhood, I grew up in a very secular family. No one talk much. I mean, we do fasting and Ramadan and celebrate Eid, but there wasn't a big role for religion in the way I grew up. but it was a personal connection with God, and that personal connection always kept me, kept my soul alive, kept my spirit alive.
Connection with God, and also you knew exactly where the red line was for you. You kept your mind open. Okay, so your mom, you just told what your mom taught you, but then on the age of 19, when you were 19, you didn't know that, but your mom and dad, I'm not fully sure about your dad because I saw it in my research. I found more about your mom, that she arranged this marriage for you with with an Iraqi guy in the States, and they brought you to the States, you got married to them, and after 2 weeks your parents left. And that was actually at that moment for you a big betrayal. It felt a big betrayal for you from especially your mom, while she was teaching you freedom, independency, and you're really standing for yourself in your power, and this is happening. Can you tell us a little bit through that story? What happened there?
Well, what happened is exactly what you described. So there isn't much to tell. What I can to add to what you described. However, it took me a very, very long time. I mean, when I found myself stranded in America, when the marriage ended up being abusive, physically and sexually abusive, and verbally abusive. He didn't hit me or anything like that, but he raped me. And a lot of people say, oh, there is no rape in marriage. I believe there is rape in marriage. It doesn't matter if you're married or not. If you are forced by a man to force himself on you, it doesn't matter if you're his wife or not. That's a personal integrity. And so I left. When I left, there was $400 in my pocket, and I vowed that I will do something out of my life. I will build my life, and one day I will go home and try to help women in back home. But right now, I'm going to build something out of my life. And I did it from zero, basically. I soon later, very soon after, I found that there's a war in Bosnia. There were rape in Bosnia and concentration camps in Bosnia. It's a country that I did not know anything about, but I was living in America, and America does give you freedom of expression. It does give you that. So I felt I have the responsibility that now that I live in a country that gives me freedom of expression, that I have the responsibility to act on that. And even though act on people I don't know who are the Bosnians and nothing about, now we know, but at that time I really did not know. And I just but there's injustice. And when we see injustice, if there's injustice happening in front of us and we avoid seeing it, we legitimize it. And we allow for the corruption of our own values. In other words, we each want to say that we are good people, but we get corrupted. We allow our own corruption if we don't act on our good values. What's the point of saying I'm a good person, but I really don't act on my values? So I felt I have the obligation to do something about injustice, even though I have no personal connection to them. And from that started, Women for Women. It was a mom and pop. I had already fell in love and married someone else. This is 2 years after I created this organization. Everyone laughed at me. My friends, they like, go get a job, buy a house. Why are you wasting your time?
Yeah. You were just 23 years old.
I was just 23 years old. And, Lord and behold, and, it became a major organization, helping 500,000 women in different wars, connecting 500,000 women in different countries to them, raising $146 million. And I mentioned that because it's in the process of working with the women survivors of wars. I started in Bosnia, but then I went to Afghanistan and Congo and Iraq and Sudan, Southern Sudan, and different countries, and Kosovo and all of that. And what I came to learn that here I am asking them to break their silence. I was conveying the message my mom told me, never let anybody touch you or talk to you the wrong way. Always speak your truth, break your silence. But I wasn't willing to do that, right? I was afraid to do that for myself, to tell everyone I knew Saddam Hussein. I was in an arranged marriage. I was in an abusive marriage. And so, it took me a very long time to see the connection between myself, the educated women, and the women that I'm helping, very poor women who have lost everything. And the connection is the same. We all have our stories. I was just hiding behind them.
While working for Women for International and helping other women in war zones, you're hiding your own story.
I'm hiding my own story because I'm afraid to say, oh my God, I was abused wife, sorry. And oh my gosh, I came in an arranged marriage and I knew something. I was embarrassed. How could I be feminist, well-known feminist activist, but I have this shameful story? And until one moment in which I realized I actually am them and they are me. We're all the same story. It's the severity of it is different. Each person has their own particular story, but the impact on the emotions are very similar. And that's when I embarked into my own journey of discovery, right? Like, what would it take to break my own silence, confronting my fear? And then over my mom's illness, I realized that, I confronted her. Like, why did you do that to me? To leave me alone in a foreign country. And that's
this was when she got ill, not before. You didn't confront her before.
I couldn't see her before. I did not end up seeing my family for 9 years. There was sanctions and embargo in Iraq. So she came to America for treatment, and that was the first time I could see her after 8 years of not seeing her. And so that's when and she was on her brink of her death. And when we are dying, we're honest. We're very honest about everything in life when we're dying. We lie only when we are bragging about who we are, all of that. So in my mother's death, she told me and that she was worried about me, that she wanted, to get me out to America into safety. And, there's a saying in the Quran, sometimes you hate something's happening to you, but they're ultimately for your good. And I reflect on it. I think that was the story for me. I hated what happened to me, but ultimately it was for my good. I did come to America. I did establish myself out of nothing in America. I have built my career on my own. I have been loved and feel, over a long time, a sense of safety. And had my mom not done that, and even though she did that to protect me, and you would have to read the book to understand why, I would not have become who I am today.
Yeah. You also said, in the Super Soul Sunday with Oprah, you said to her, I realized for the longest time the prison guard for my own fear. I was the guard who was feeding my fear. When you own your story, you walk out of shame. And did you walk out of shame after you owned the story?
Most definitely. Once you break your silence and you say the truth, and, I cried a lot in the process of writing the book. I cried for 1.5 years writing it, and then I cried for 1.5 years promoting it, until there were no more tears. And what helped me was the more I spoke my truth, people will come, mostly women, and tell me what they've gone through. And not only abuse, there's so many stories. These are, I don't know these women. And all what I was doing is telling my truth, mine, and I realized that they were coming and I was just like telling me their truth. And I realized I'm not alone. We're ashamed and afraid because we think we're alone, because we think someone else is perfect. We think everyone else is perfect except us. That's not true. Actually, all of us are imperfect. Everyone is having their own struggle. These days, we all project these fake images on our social media, making others feel they're not fake images. They're images of glimpses of moments in our lives. They're not our life. There's a good second, that we put and we take a picture, and rather than this is my entire life, right? And so, the truth is we're all suffering. And we're all also, those of us who want to do the work, we're also all awakening together, And so right now it's left me, because it's like I'm not unique. If anything, it's like it's so many women have the same story, not with the circumstances I have, not in the country I have, not in the dictator I have, but that breaking away from the shame, that's freedom. That is freedom, is to break away from the shame, because your oppressor keep you with your shame. Husbands who beat their wives, or cultures like yours or mine, they tell women to stay, keep the story, don't tell your father did this, or your brother did this, or your husband, shame on the family. Actually, so we keep it scared. What would people say? Well, what I realized, when you do the reverse and you just speak, you free yourself from the restrictions of society and the fear. Oh my God, you're free, because it's like, I just said it. You're the abuser, not me. And I'm breaking silence.
Beautiful. Really, really very powerful also. Yeah, very, very powerful. So, I also read, when you visited these war zones, for example, Bosnia, you ask women like, hey, what do you want me to bring you? What do you want me to send you from the States or any other country? And most women, they replied with, I want to have lipstick. And we both have lipstick on, both of us. For the ones that see this YouTube video, they can see it. But why did they ask you to bring lipstick? Can you tell that story a little bit?
Yeah, well, I was like, lipstick? What? You want me to bring you, I don't know, vitamins, tampons, things like that. And lipstick, they said, one of them said, is because it's the simplest act that I can put on my lip and I feel beautiful. And so when I walk out of the house and the sniper is maybe targeting to kill me, I want him to know he is killing a beautiful woman. And that story really changed my understanding and my relationship with beauty and the meaning of beauty. Because I grew up in a society where beauty is dangerous. If you're beautiful, maybe someone will rape you. So in my case, I resisted beauty. In my case, obviously, most women like beauty, right? And if anything, I feel like I worry about a lot of the exaggeration in attaining beauty, with a lot of people doing all kinds of things to their bodies and their faces and their, to attain beauty. But I came to realize that, and for me, I denied beauty, right? But beauty is a very important thing of life. And it's not only aesthetically beautiful, it's also an act of resistance. It's like this woman who wanted a lipstick. The artists are very important. Artists create beauty, whether it is paintings or whether it is, a music or any kind of art or poetry or authors. They create beauty, and beauty is a form of resistance. It's a form of expression, but also it's a form of resilience, is a form of perseverance, is a form of strength. And it really changed my perspective. I mean, before I was like, I don't want to wear nice clothes, I don't want to put lipstick on. No, I put lipstick on, and I do appreciate beauty. Actually, it's very important for me aesthetically. It's very important because it's important for my soul. There's a Catholic nuns place in California, and it's beautifully built, and then they say there's a line in it that says, beauty brings our souls, beauty makes us closer to our souls, and that makes us closer to God.
That's a nice one.
Really, really nice. And so I learned, to appreciate how people resist in different ways. Not everyone resists with a gun. Most people resist in different ways, and in small ways and in big ways, and even in ways that include a lipstick.
So I also read, that you have thought for a long time that you did not confirm, let's say that you were beautiful, that you had difficulties with that. When was that turning point that you felt and owned, acknowledged, I am beautiful, as Zainab Salbi or Zainab?
I met a woman from Tibet, and she, without knowing me much, she gave me an exercise to meditate on my face and on the mirror, in the bathroom mirror. And I was like, okay, I'll meditate. I'm very much into spiritual discoveries. So I was like, yeah, sure, I'll meditate. And to look at my face was too many features. And even though we look at our faces every day in the mirror as we brush our teeth and wash our faces, we really don't pay attention, to the details. So I took only one eye to meditate on so I can focus on my meditation. And that was also too many details. So then I took one pupil, and I said, I'm going to meditate on that. And after 10 minutes each day, I would meditate in the bathroom mirror on my pupil. One day it happened. I was like, oh my God, I'm beautiful. And what I am beautiful meant was not me, because I wasn't looking at my features. I wasn't looking at my eyes. I was looking at my pupil. I wasn't looking at my nose or anything. What I am beautiful meant is that I saw my soul, and my soul was beautiful. And it's just a very, like, you see, they say the eyes are the window to our souls. And so it was like, oh, it's beautiful. And you really do see yourself in your pupil. And ever since, even though it was a very symbolic experience, my own self-perception of my beauty has changed. It's the physical change, now sometimes I lose weight, sometimes I gain weight, sometimes, and I always look at like, it's beautiful. And, I love hiking. I live in nature, and I, always hike. And one of the things I learned in hiking in the seasons that change, that every season is beautiful. Every season is beautiful. Spring, summer, fall, winter. And, often maybe, and I think it's the same with human life and human physical life, that every aspect of it is beautiful. Who said spring is the most beautiful aspect? I think fall is gorgeous, truly gorgeous,
Yeah.
where I live, at least, right? And so it's like, so how about if we let beauty evolve and appreciate all the beauty inward? Because when you see it inward, I'm 52 years old, and now I think I'm more beautiful than when I was in my 20s, but only because I could see my soul and my spirit.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? And then I'm planning to keep it as is. I'm not going to change it. I'm just going to, let life be and not be worried. Do I have this wrinkle? And it's because it's like the seasons, they're all gorgeous. And it's the soul that is important.
Actually, I have read in one book about in old Turkey, when they were traveling, they always gave a traveler a small mirror. Because when you lose trust in yourself, or when you forget your own beauty while traveling, just look in the mirror and you will see the inside of your soul, which is reflecting back in your face as beauty.
Beautiful, very beautiful, very nice.
So back to your mom, Zainab, like I also read about that when your mom was sick, she asked you to send some letters where she was asking for forgiveness from some people or from many, I don't know the amount. And I also read about that you said once you did that, I'm not going to wait until I am going to be very sick. I'm just going to already ask forgiveness from people that I want to ask.
It's not only forgiveness. My mom wrote letters to everyone in her life, some asking them for apologizing them, some she forgave them, and some she just told them, I love you and I appreciate you. So apologize, forgive, and appreciate, basically. And that was the last few months of her life. And she made me read the letters before I sent it to them. And so, yes, I actually do that every now and then. I clean the slate. So in case I die, I don't have this, like, not in case when I die, I don't, it's all the slate is always, the book is always clean, right? Apologizing, forgiving, loving, and appreciating. And those who don't get that letter, for me, is intentional. Like, I'm not ready yet, but I last time I did it was during COVID, the first days of COVID. It was the last, and these are people who have hurt me a lot. I just call them or texted them, and I was like, it's time for healing, and I'm letting go. I forgive, and it's gone. And sometimes I apologize, and sometimes I just said, I just want to tell you I love you, and it was small stories and big stories. They're not
Yeah.
only big stories. Sometimes it's small stories. We hurt someone we love, and we think that they're okay, but I do apologize, and because we always talk about forgiveness. When you forgive someone, you have the power to forgive someone. Try to do the opposite. Try to ask for forgiveness and try to apologize, because there's so much talk about you forgiving. Honestly, I learned about forgiveness when I had to apologize, when I had to be on the seat of the asking for forgiveness, and that's a humbling experience, and it's scary, and it's really scary experience, because you are admitting to what you have done, and you are vulnerable to this person's response. And yet, for me, that's when forgiveness is not a one dimension; it's 360 degrees. You have to play all parts of it to truly understand it. And not just say, "Oh, I forgive you," or "Can you forgive me?" You really need to be in that seat in order to fully understand it and appreciate the others.
So appreciating the others is being scary to actually ask for forgiveness, and you're putting yourself out there, you're vulnerable. How did it make you feel after you did it?
Clean, like in alignment in myself,
Mm.
and I just you cannot be attached to people's response, right? Some people respond nicely and some people don't. You just said, but I did that journey. I'm doing it for me, not for anybody else. I am doing it because I need to be in truth and in alignment to my values. And so it deepens that alignment, that sense of alignment. It's like, I did it for me. I'm done. And you let go of the story and you put all the story in a canoe, and symbolically, and you push it out in the water. And you let go of all that story of pain that either you caused or other people caused you. And so it's liberating to do that.
Yeah. So, in 2019, just before COVID, actually, COVID kind of happened in March 2020. And at the end of 2019, you were at the intensive care and you were trying to breathe, and you were actually kind of catching your last breath. And you say that situation changed you. And also you said in one of the interviews, it's changed your to do or to life list. Before the intensive care, your list was work hard, exercise, financial security, seeing friends, family. And the new list was connecting with your heart, connecting with nature, showing gratitude. What happened exactly? Because I could not find somewhere. I just read about you were trying to breathe for the last time. Did you have an almost death experience?
Yeah, I almost died. I was in the ICU. It was an unknown viral infection. That was before COVID. And I was surrounded by doctors and nurses and family. But in that intimate space, when you think that this is it, you don't ask yourself, what did I accomplish? Or did I accomplish enough? The question that came to me, the first word that came to me is kindness. Kindness. And then it led me to the question is, have I lived my life in kindness to myself and to others? And have I lived my life in love to myself and to others? And I have lived my life in kindness and in love to others. I know how to give. But to myself was not a question. I just did not know. Kindness to myself, maybe I would have manicure, pedicure, or maybe I get a massage. But really, that's not kindness to oneself. That's not love to oneself, right? And so, so for me, it's so what does that mean then?
What does it mean?
Well, I think we each have to discover it for ourselves to start with. I think we each have to have our own list of what makes you happy and blissful. And, from that came for me, 7 rules for a happy day. 7, but they're very basic. Drink a lot of water, eat healthy food, go and walk in nature or be surrounded in nature. It's meditation, but I call it an appointment with my heart. Because when I call it an appointment, I take it very seriously. If it's meditation, I skip meditation, but I have an appointment with my heart every day, a connection with my essence.
I love that.
Family and friends, that's very important. Sometimes I would go days without calling family or friends. Now I call people every day. How you doing? Checking on them, I'll always surround myself with family and friends, basically. Do something in the arts. Very important for me. Art is important for our souls, whether you listen to music or express yourself artistically, whatever that is. I started teaching myself the piano, and I started playing piano.
Really?
And then, I played it as a child, but I retaught myself after 30 years of not touching the piano. And I was like, this is important for me. And then finally, and I really, I'm doing my podcast right now called Redefined. And I'm interviewing people from all walks of life. And the one thing, it's my 7 rule, but I bring Redefined because I'm discovering is everyone rules. Work something that is your purpose. Because when you're working your purpose, when you are, your job, your profession is your purpose, that's happiness. That's a bliss. It doesn't matter if you work hard or you don't work hard. And when people are in their purpose, they are energetic and happy and excited. That's, for me, is the 7th rule. Always be sure that whatever you're doing, it is your purpose.
Wow. Nice 7 rules. Really, really nice, Zainab. So the Bridging podcast, Zainab, we have different people coming on the show with different expertise it's about cultural diversity, personal growth. And I always ask every guest this question. It is about taking the listener on a bridge, sometimes to a familiar place and sometimes to a very new place. And in your story, I saw some familiarity with my story, although I never lived in Iraq. I lived in the Netherlands, but the very similar things I found for myself, and I'm sure that some of the listeners would also have found. Where would you like to take the listener to if you can take them on a bridge?
I can only tell you what came to me immediately, which is a rope bridge, which I'm scared of, like a bridge made of ropes in a high place, which I'm very scared of, and the reason it's a story that I wrote in my book, in my last book, Freedom is an Inside Job, which is about a girl. It's a long story. I will not mention the story, but she was at a point where she has to cross that bridge and go through the dark forest to safety. And she's scared and she doesn't know how to do it. And I am scared of that bridge, right? And in the story is what she did is she started to go to the song of her life, and just make the sound of her life. Oh. Now, I'm saying it physically, but it's the sound of her life. And when she went in that song, she could cross the bridge and cross the dark forest and came to light and came to the land of freedom and joy. And the reason I mentioned that bridge is because life is, by definition, has ups and downs.
Yeah.
And for me, is how the ups are beautiful, is how do we manage the downs? And as long as we stay true to ourselves, as long as we stay true to our voice, to our life purpose, to our beliefs, to our values, then we can cross the scariest bridges. We can cross the scariest bridges. And that's why I brought that bridge, that we can cross that bridge. Just sing the song of your life. It will together there.
That's so beautiful, Zainab. So where can the listener find you? Your amazing podcast, Redefined. You had Elif Shafak and Mariana Williamson on it, and also other guests. Your books about, all your work. Where can they find you?
Well, I think to listen to the podcast, I suggest going to www.findcenter.com. Findcenter.com. You'll see the podcast over there. It's also a platform that makes it anybody who is seeking to find their journey towards healing, find it all kinds of information and wisdom of all time in one place. So just go there. And for my books and my everything, just go to, I guess, my website with zainabsalbi.com, or you can check Redefine on Spotify or Apple or whatever you get your podcast.
And you also have Instagram, right?
Of course. Yes.
Yeah. I will put everything in the episode notes. Zainab, thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. I feel very privileged that I have been in your energy field and have had this conversation with you.
Wonderful. It's a pleasure. Thank you very much, Özlem. You've been most kind and patient, and I appreciate it.
Yeah.
And thank you very much. Thank you.